Today on the Big 3 and 30, Indiana goes into the national championship game as big favorites.
Indiana was favored by 7.5, so in that time frame, the spread has gone up.
While the Miami Hurricanes feel disrespected by the books and the experts.
Why is the number so big?
And the Oklahoma Sooners add a Hall of Famer to the coaching staff.
Jason Witten is hitting the ground running.
This is the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 and 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 and 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Indiana Hoosiers come into the national championship game off a pair of blowout wins, making them favorites of more than a touchdown in Vegas against Miami. Thanks again to our friends at FanDuel. Will Indiana make it look easy again to win it all? Jacob Goins with Locked On Hoosiers certainly hopes so.
Indiana favored by 8.5 against the Miami Hurricanes. Now, that is the Friday morning line. It very well could change by the time that we get to Monday. But if you remember, and if you were with us on the live show after Indiana beat Oregon, we watched it go live. And Indiana was favored by 7.5. So in that time frame, the spread has gone up, which for those of you who are not in the betting world, that means Indiana's getting money. That means people are betting on the Hoosiers to beat Miami. And they absolutely should be. Why would they not be betting on Indiana, right? And the question starts to pop up of, is that too many points? Is that not enough? Is it disrespectful for what Indiana's been doing? Is it disrespectful to Miami to be 8.5-point underdogs in your home stadium in the national championship game? Maybe. And all of those could be true, or all of them could be false. And I think for Indiana, look, I know that you have been just waxing teams up to this point, but everything is off the table, in my opinion, in a national title game. Do I think Indiana's the better team? Yeah, absolutely I do. They're easily the better team, and I think they're 2 or 3 touchdowns better than Miami. But that doesn't mean you're going to beat them by that much. That doesn't mean you're going to beat them by double digits. That doesn't mean you're going to beat them at all. But I do think that Indiana should be favored, and I do think that the spread is pretty darn close for what this game could be. Now, funny enough, before the Oregon game, I said that I thought it would be low scoring. I thought it would be a defensive battle. I thought Indiana would have to pull away late, and I was completely wrong because Indiana just dismantled that Oregon defense one play at a time, and a pick six to start the game definitely helps your scoring props, but I don't know. This game against Miami could be a little bit more reserved, I guess, for Indiana. That's what I'm curious on. I don't think this is the case because we have not really seen this at all in the 2 years of the Curt Cignetti era in Bloomington. But does Indiana change their identity? Do they change their ways? Do they change how they play the game? Do they change how they call the game? Do they change how they prepare for the game? My instant answer, and I'm sure yours is the same, is, well, no, that doesn't make any sense. Curt Cignetti, all he does is talk about the process and trust the process and do the little things right. And if we play our game, we're going to win every time. I agree. But this is the national championship game. This is a different beast. This is a different animal. And that's a Miami team that might have the best defense you've seen all season long. And to be fair, Miami beat Ohio State by 10. You beat them by 3. Now, you can say whatever you want. It was a late garbage touchdown for Miami, and it absolutely was. But Miami beat Ohio State the same way that Indiana did. So these two teams in that regard are pretty close. But everybody wants to jump on the Hoosiers for what they have done against Alabama, what they did against Oregon, and then in comparison to Miami, struggling with Ole Miss, who's a talented team for sure, getting by Ohio State, and also beating Texas A&M in ugly fashion. Miami's got the game advantage on you. Indiana's got the game of rest upon it, right? And 2 blowouts that haven't been tested in, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something, whatever the Big Ten championship game was, right? That's the last time Indiana was tested as a football team. But if Indiana doesn't change the way they're doing things, if Indiana goes into this game the same way they have all year long, Hoosiers are going to win and win in a runaway. I don't see a world where the Hoosiers play their game and Miami takes them out of it so bad, because Miami's going to do something. They're a good football team. They're a very good football team. There's a reason they've won 3 in a row in the playoffs, and they're playing for a national championship game. They're here for a reason, and they will do things on both sides of the football that will throw Indiana off. And Indiana will do the same thing for Miami. At that point, it's about who responds. Who responds better, who adjusts better, and who has more on their tool belt, who has more plays in the playbook, who has one more execution to make it happen. I'm betting on Indiana. I'm betting on the Hoosiers, because going against them is a terrible idea. Going against them it's a death wish under Curt Cignetti, frankly. And this year, of course, being undefeated and now making a quest to be the first ever 16-0 team in college football history. Hoosiers favored by 8.5. Total is 47.5. That's what both teams are projected to score combined in this football game. So, I mean, you're looking at, if Indiana's favored by 8.5, see if I can do quick math here. I mean, if you have 28-20, right, that's 48. That's about right. It's about 28-20, give or take, Indiana over Miami. I don't think it's that close. I'll give my full prediction on Monday, but I think Indiana is able to win more than that, by more than that. I think Indiana scores more than that, and I also think they hold Miami to less than that as well. But betting lines are just betting lines. That's just people having fun. That's Vegas trying to make $1. They have absolutely zero impact. Well, I guess you could ask college basketball on how much impact they have. Wild stuff in the betting scandal world there. But in terms of the actual betting line and the result of the game, for as far as we know, it has zero impact here. This is about the Hoosiers executing and doing what they do. I think Indiana has the better quarterback. I think Indiana has the better running backs. I think Indiana has the better receiving core. I think Indiana has the better offensive line. I think Indiana has the better defensive line. I think Indiana has the better secondary. And most importantly, I think Indiana's got the better coach. So you're telling me with all those things that they're going to lose this game? They could. They absolutely could. But I'm not betting against them. Not here, not ever, not with Curt Cignetti. It's the Hoosiers and the Canes on Monday night in Miami. It is a road game for Indiana, but I'm hoping a lot of Hoosier fans are going to be there. I've heard from a ton of you that are making the trip. I hope you can get there. Use our friends over at Gametime if you're looking for last-minute tickets to get in the door. I know they're expensive, but you do what you got to do for something that could only happen once in our lifetimes, but I'd love to be there again.
It's divisional round time in the NFL playoffs, and FanDuel is in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bet feel that way too. Visit FanDuel.com, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. The Miami Hurricanes will play for a national championship on their home field Monday and have already taken down the defending champion Ohio State Buckeyes on their way to the title game. But the Canes still enter as big underdogs. Alex Dono of Locked On Canes doesn't like the disrespect that he's seeing.
Lee, Indiana favored, last I checked, on FanDuel by 8.5 points in this game. Why is the number so big?
Well, the reason is they're blowing everyone out of late, especially in the playoffs. And when you do that, public, they see the score and they're like, wow, they beat Alabama, blowout. Then they beat Oregon, even bigger than the first time, blowout from the first play on. So public is obviously part of the perception. Now, remember, when Miami won their first title, 1983, that Nebraska team, everyone thought they were unbeatable. They were averaging 52 points per game, multiple players, Terry Rozier. I'm sorry, not Terry Rozier, Mike Rozier.
We don't want to talk about scary Terry. Mike Rozier, it's fine.
Irving Fryer on the team, Turner Gill, the quarterback. Dean Steinkuhler was a offensive guard. I mean, Osborne was their coach. I mean, everyone thought, they were, I think Miami was either 4 or 5, depending on the poll going into that game. They had to have a lot of things happen in that game just to go right to even have a chance to play for a title. They were 11-point underdog. That team did have a weakness. They had not faced a passing attack that was proficient the entire season. So I think even though Nebraska is a little bit more explosive, Miami's going to face a team that really doesn't have one real weakness that you can exploit all game long. So that's one of the reasons why they're an 8.5-point favorite, beating an Alabama and an Oregon teams that people know and trust and rarely get blown out. And also combine that with Miami, I wouldn't say struggling, but had to win a very close game against Ole Miss in the last game. If they had won, let's say the look-ahead line, I think, was 5.5.
That's right.
Before Indiana played. If Miami had, say, won by double digits in that game and Indiana won by, let's just say 20, the line probably would have been 5.5, 6, not 8.5. It started at 7.5, now up to 8.5.
Does Miami playing in their home stadium, does that factor in at all with the way you view the Hurricanes' chances here?
Probably worth maybe 1.5 points. It could be anywhere from 50-50. Indiana, as we know, has a huge alumni base, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. And they'll travel and they'll buy tickets. So Miami's here. If you're buying tickets and you're a Miami fan and you're in South Florida, you don't have to travel. That cuts down on driving, flying, getting a hotel, transportation, things like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's anywhere from 60-40 either way. I think it's going to be like 55-45 Miami. Problem is you're not going to see it on TV. For instance, when I went to the Ohio State game, they were showing, I went back and watched the game again. They were showing Ohio State, the sideline, the whole side. I mean, they were just showing a couple little sections of Miami, but I was facing the Miami side, and it was like 95% on that side, Miami fans. And even on my side, there were a lot of Miami fans. In that case, I think Miami had about 30,000 of the 80,000 fans there, maybe even as many as 35. So the orange and the green just doesn't quite show up as much as, all red.
All right, so you mentioned Indiana is a team that, doesn't really have any glaring weaknesses, maybe no real weaknesses to speak of. But are there areas you think Miami can match up well here, Lee? Because obviously everyone's going to look at what Miami's defensive line and Bain and Mesidor on the edges, what they can do against that Indiana O-line and against Fernando Mendoza.
I think they do. I think that if you look at what their weakness is their 2 offensive tackles. I think their 2 offensive tackles can get exposed. And also, Fernando Mendoza has been great. He has 2 weaknesses. He's going to release the ball on average a half a second slower than Trinidad Chambliss did. Trinidad Chambliss was roughly in the 2.5-second range. Mendoza's in the 3-second range. So if you can get pressure in that extra half seconds, a long, long time. And that's where Julian Sayin was. He was a little over 3 seconds. That can certainly change the game. And also what I've noticed with Mendoza is you have to make him run side to side. When he runs straight up the field, he is much faster as a straight line runner. Side to side, he goes from, he's 6'5". He does remind me a little bit of Bernie Kosar. The way he, goes up to the line. There's a slight comparison. He's not, he's not like Josh Allen. He's not fluid. He's not, He has a good arm. He doesn't have a rocket. Throws the ball a little, slightly unorthodox, not as sidearm as much as Bernie did, but running straight ahead, he's got good speed. Side to side, I think he's less than average. So that's something that I think I see that maybe the defensive staff from Miami sees also. They might have their rushers, their interior tackles, be more of, just make sure that, he doesn't escape up the middle, and get your hands up and let the two guys from the outside do their work. So, and then maybe the biggest advantage that Miami has, and this might be worth a point and a half, Corey Heatherman was on the staff for 3 years.
That's right.
So, I don't know if they're going to bring that up on the telecast, but to me, that is very important. And he certainly knows the way Curt Cignetti thinks. So is Curt Cignetti, going to do what he does pretty much all the time? If he does, Corey Heatherman, I think we'll have some pretty good intel to how to, I wouldn't say stop him, but how to contain his offense. And I think the key is to keep them under probably 25 points, and you got a chance to win the game. And, or is he going to try to change it up and go against what he usually does best? So that's the chess match on that side of the ball. And Miami's done well, so far, in first half of games. And I think that's the key also. If Miami falls behind by double digits, they're in trouble. Everyone is against them. But against Texas A&M, they held them scoreless in the first half. Wind was partially a factor. They held Ohio State and Ole Miss also to nothing in the first two possessions. So those are some things that I see from the defensive side of the ball, and how they're going to look at trying to contain this Indiana offense, which has been explosive. And I went and looked at the film, 3 times they were held under, their averages.
Yeah.
Penn State 27, and they were very lucky to win that game on a last-second catch. I don't know if it was third or fourth down, a one-handed catch back of the end zone. 13 against Ohio State and 20 against Iowa. And you got to think that we're somewhere in the mix there as far as our defensive talent, the way we've been able to play defense against some of these better offenses.
It's divisional round time in the NFL playoffs, and FanDuel is in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bet feel that way too. Visit FanDuel.com, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. The Oklahoma Sooners added a familiar face to the coaching staff, hiring Jason Witten as their new tight ends coach. He's already hard at work recruiting, and John Williams tells us all about it on Locked On Sooners.
So we know Jason Witten is hitting the ground running. Coaches are making visits. I cannot wait for that first really appreciate Coach Witten coming out to see me photo that we get to see on social media sometimes. Like Bill Bedenbaugh's, visited Caden Penny, and you've had, Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle visiting a dude up in Kansas. Like that first one that Witten drops is going to hit like crack. It's going to be pretty awesome. But
yeah, it is.
So on Thursday, there was a projection from Chris Hummer that the Oklahoma Sooners are now the favorite to land Tennessee freshman tight end Jack Van Dorselaer. This is a guy that was a player out of Southlake Carroll High School, teammate of one Luke Wilson, who is an Oklahoma commit in the 2027 class, and somebody who, his head coach, Riley Dodge, is now the tight ends coach at SMU. Interesting little factoid there. For
little nugget.
High school head coaches making the jump to the college game, it's not just Witten, but Riley Dodge is also doing the same thing from Southlake. But this is a really intriguing potential ad for Oklahoma. if they can land this, I think it really speaks to the gravity in which Jason Witten carries.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. The fact that, I'm going to say this out loud.
Let's go.
But I want y'all to understand this.
I'm ready for it.
I feel like it's big.
It's going to be good.
That he is going after and could potentially win a tight end from his alma mater and bring him to Oklahoma.
Yep.
That should tell you how ruthless this man is.
I'm here for it.
This man went, dude, hits the portal. Next thing you know, Witten's got him in town. And he's like, hey, I understand you enjoyed that creamsicle Tennessee orange. Me too, because that's where I'm born and raised. But it's all right. We're going Krispy and Kreme now. I need you here. And the cream is still there. Maybe not sickle. It's just cream. There you go. Join the fam. That's pretty ruthless, man. How do you do that? How do you go after a guy that was at your alma mater where you play college ball? Look, man, that warmed my heart. That told me everything I need to know. And I feel like
ultimate competitor.
We did good, y'all. We did good. That's all I want to say.
If there's one thing that we've been a little bit critical of Brent Venables, it's maybe not having that much of a edge when it comes to Clemson and Clemson players. Not wanting to let the competition overrule some of the relationships. Jason Witten's like, nah, we're good. We're going after really good players. We're going to try and get the best of the best. If they're at Tennessee, so be it. And hey, maybe Jason can put a little word in for our guy from Elk City, Antonio Ogumoro, the offensive lineman that went to Tennessee. That just one of my underrated favorite players to watch because of just sheer athleticism. Dude's just a freak. But anyway, on Jack Van Dorselaer, like this is a really good potential ad for Oklahoma because it gives them that depth that they need at tight end. It gives them competitive depth. You can take your drink with Trine Washington, Tyler Ruxer, and Ryder Mix. Helps fortify the youth and the youth movement of the future because, hey, when Hayden Hansen and Rocky Bears are gone, then where are you looking? Well, we've got to have some answers at tight end eventually. We can't live in the transfer portal. You've got to find guys that are going to provide that continuity, like Isaiah Satania will these next 2 years or last year, this year, like we're going to have it running back with Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock. Offensive continuity is the way that you develop your offense. We've seen it on the defensive side of the ball. All the guys that have been here for 2, 3, 4 years under Brent Venables is what has allowed that defense to take shape and become as good as it's been. You've got to find answers like that on offense that allow you to continue to build that chemistry, that continuity, that development in-house, as opposed to always relying on the transfer portal.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And that's one thing that I've preached on numerous occasions. I know I say this very often on the show. For the uninitiated and the new folks, you may not have heard this yet, but thank you for subscribing and joining the channel. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Verify that you subscribe. May as well be watching us there or go listen to us wherever podcasts are downloaded, listen to, because I'm going to say this once again. We really like our recruits.
Yeah,
we truly do. And you can tell by the way that they move when it comes to the portal. So if you go step by step, and me and John will do this, we'll probably do this on Monday's show. I think that'd be a fun one to go with, depending on how many fireworks we get. But I'm going to put together a graphic and we're going to walk through the roster of starters, backups, and where we think the portal guys would fit in that. And that exercise would give you guys a visualization of, they for real, their focal point really is playing their own people, but they bring in portal dudes to fill little gaps whenever, somebody don't work out. Because you know why? You never will bat 1,000 in recruiting. It's impossible. I wish you could. You can't. Hell, as great as Indiana is doing right now, Cignetti did not bat 1,000. He had to portal in players in certain spots to fill certain gaps. But he's also playing with a lot of players that he's known for years. That is what you want. You want players to be in your system forever. And it works that way. Works better.
Yeah, and I think that's an underrated aspect of, program building. It's like I get we're in this portal season and we want the shiny toys and you want to go get those mercenaries every single year. But unless you have a culture that can receive those guys, you're not going to have a lot of success. So you can't 100% live in the portal, because you live by the portal, you'll die by the portal. Look at, Deion Sanders in Colorado. Like that was a big move by them, and it worked out in the short term, but long term, he's still got some building to do. Brent Venables didn't access the portal early enough, but he helped kind of develop the foundation of his team and the culture of his team so that when they do portal guys in, they can just integrate to what's going on already. There's enough leadership in town that they don't have to bring guys in to be leaders and establish their culture. They've already got that in place. So that's what Oklahoma can do now that they weren't able to do 4 years ago. You see this with good NFL clubs as well. They don't just sign a bunch of free agents. They have to build out of the draft and then take their shots in free agency. And that's what Oklahoma's done. They've built through recruiting, and then they've taken really strategic shots in transfer portal with Trell Harris, Parker Livingston, Hayden Harris, Rocky Beers to fill needs. But at John Mateer, we can include John Mateer in that. But the majority of your offensive roster in the starting lineup is going to be guys coming back from last year. You're going to have 6-7 starters returning from last year, and that's huge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at defensive side of the ball. What?
Currently, there are no guys that would be starting except for Cole Sullivan. That's a transfer.
Yeah, I think Cole is the only one. You'll get a new starter on the edge with Taylor Wine. Taylor Wine would, in theory, be a new starter, but at the same time, he was a starter at one point, so it's kind of hard for that to distinguish that. But Taylor has starts, so he would be considered a returner because he started, when R. Mason went down. So that reminds us that the last 3 games of the season, he was your starter. So you got Wine. You got Jaden Jackson. David Stone would technically be a new starter because that was Dominic Williams and G Baby. So there you got that. Then the other edge, yeah. Then Kip in the middle. That's what technically 3 returning starters there. Then he said Cole Sullivan's going to be your starter, but you'll have on the edge you got PJ as well, who returned out of the portal, which is still the craziest thing to me. He was in the portal for like 35 seconds. It came out because somebody saw it. But yeah. Then secondary, you've got 3 starters returning with just one, new starter. And Michael Boganowski has started games before too. So technically you got all 4 of your secondary back that has starts. You've got 3 of your defensive linemen back that's had starts, at least one start. And you got a starting linebacker. So that's 8 on the defensive side of the ball. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah. Well, and again, of your 11 starters on defense, only one of those is going to be a transfer portal guy.
Yep. And then Reggie Powers to be a cheetah. So yeah. Only
that's
one.
The vision.
That is the vision, as the Brent Venables vision. You're going to bring in players. You're bringing in that one. Like Cole Sullivan's going to be your Kendall Daniels this year. And you brought in Kendall and had him start in there specifically because you wanted the big cheetah. Someone you can move around and scare people. And Cole is more of your Danny Stutzman. He's 6'3". He's 230-something pounds. He's actually, he doesn't look like he's that big, but he's legit. He's about as big as Danny. Danny was 6'4", 245, so it's not that far off.
Yeah, and you get multiple years of him. And I think this is the part of the Kip Lewis discussion that we didn't have in the first segment is him coming back gives you time with your linebacker group to continue to develop those guys. It gives Cole Sullivan time where he doesn't have to be the guy at linebacker this year, but next year he can be the guy. It gives James Nesta and Marcus James time to develop and become parts of that rotation. Whereas opposed to if Kip Lewis isn't back, okay, you either need to make sure you get another linebacker or these guys got to step up. And really these guys got to step up anyway, because you want to play 4 linebackers. So the fact that they've been able to build the defense through the recruiting ranks and then supplement with transfer portal guys, that's what they want to do offensively. It's just they're a little bit further behind because of all the turnover at offensive coordinator. So
yeah.
And this is the part where bringing Ben Arbuckle back and hopefully getting more years with him, if their offense takes a step and you're able to retain him for several more years, that's a good thing for Oklahoma's offense because it develops that continuity that allows the offense to rely on the guys that they recruit and develop, and it gives them time as opposed to having to go into the portal, be aggressive, find 1-year rentals. That's what we need to see eventually take place.
What you want is similar to what Indiana has done, and even what Saban did at a certain point when he got things going. Kirby Smart as well got going there at Georgia. It took Kirby Smart, 7 years to get a ring there at Georgia, right? It took him time. Like MJ, it took MJ 6-7 seasons before he could get to a championship, but it took Kirby Smart about 7 years to get his first ring. He got 2 in a row. And the reason of that was, he had loyalty in his staff to where coaches stayed with him for years. Signetti, similar, like his offensive coordinator, Mike Shanahan, who's not related to the other Shanahans. I thought that was very interesting.
That really
I did not
blows
realize
my
it.
mind.
It's like,
really
wow,
does.
we've got multiple Shanahans that run offenses in this world. Like, how does that happen? And you're not even distant cousins? Bananas. Yeah. But anyway, he's been with him since IUP, and he was at IUP. He went to Elon, so he's had these coaches follow him from small schools to now. And, James Madison to here, that continuity right there is the reason why they're looking so good, because everybody's been together so long. And that's hard to do in modern football, because the first thing people do when they're looking for a head coach, they go for one of the innovative or the best performing offensive guys, right? Meow. Ben Arbuckle has a really good season. He gets John Mateer to 3,000, 4,000 yards like he saw at Alabama and all those other schools. Dude's going to be on everybody's first list for a head coaching job.
Yeah.
Because he's young and they think they can get him in, and they hopefully can have him there for 10, 12 years. But with BV, now he gave him a good opportunity as a young coach. And the hope is you can keep for at least 3 years. He's going to be gone. Then from there, he's going to find himself another young coach that he hopes can be around for a long time. Truth be told, that's why Bob Stoops retired. He brought in Lincoln Young. He realized that he's probably going to get a head coaching job, give him a job here. And the rest is history. So that's what you've got to keep in mind with this. Like, it's a bigger, it's a lot more to it, a lot more nuance to this than what we think. Ben had his first year. He's broken in. He understands the difference in the SEC. Now he can be like Tim Beck, go out there and put up some numbers. Just make it happen, Captain.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 College. If you follow pro basketball or football, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NBA and the NFL going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NBA or the Big 3 in 30 NFL, wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 College.